Hi, this is Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the President, Founder, and Chief Listening Officer here at our network at USA Global TV and Radio. Thank you so much for your loyalty. Thank you so much to all of our guests, to our team members, to our sponsors, and to all of our elevated listeners. Here at USA Global TV and Radio, we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. We celebrate all of our team members, all of our guests, and all of our sponsors from around the world who come and lead their lives with their hearts to help other people walk into their greatness. If you'd like to be a guest on any of our shows, please go over to our website, usaglobaltv.com, and book your session. Please contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com and subscribe to our channel. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world joining us. We're thrilled to have you with us here at USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is The Art of Creating Mental Health Wealth. Joining me for this show is the star, JENETTA Barry, in the Epiphany Process, and we have a fabulous guest who'll be joining us in just a few minutes. Let's welcome JENETTA to the program. Hello, JENETTA. Good afternoon to you.
Hello, Dr. Jacalyn. And I love the good afternoon, considering it's your good morning. And in fact, it's almost my good night by the time I finish. It's amazing.
It is truly amazing. And I'm just incredulous about the fact that sometimes you're joining us at 11 o'clock at night when it's time to go sleep the first thing in the morning. So I really appreciate your flexibility and being with us on so many of our shows. Thank you, JENETTA.
You know, honor, pleasure, and privilege. Dr. Jacalyn, you have such a wonderful lineup of shows on this network, and I think anybody who hasn't heard about us by now is missing a really great experience, because that diversity and that information that gets imparted in these shows is so valuable. So, and we're growing, as you and I were talking the other day. We're just growing by the day, by thousands, and it's just wonderful.
Well, thank you to you, and thank you to all of our team members and our guests and our sponsors that making it happen. So, JENETTA, for people who are joining us the first time, we are talking today about how music impacts our mental health wealth. And I know you and your family, you have a history in the performing arts, and I'd love for you to share a little bit about that and then introduce our guest.
Oh, yes. This is very close to my heart. And my guest is very close to my heart. In fact, I can even say he stole my heart last year when we met up for World Jenny's Day, and I can't wait to share a bit about Rene just now. But my backstory starts in East Africa, which is very close to where Rene actually comes from. He comes from the Congo. And in East Africa, in Kenya, in actual fact, my father was known as the father of Kenyan music. And even to this day, when that information goes out to people around Kenya, they go, a white person was influential in Benga music and African music, and it was the truth. And the most amazing thing is that my dad couldn't play a musical instrument and he couldn't read music. And yet he put together these amazing compositions and rewrote one of the most successful songs is a song called Malaika, which means angel in Swahili. And it's been sung by Boney M and Harry Belafonte and Brothers Four and Pete Seeger and so many people. And it's really kind of become the pop song for Africa. And I was in a taxi in London a few months back, an Uber taxi, and the man was from Singapore, and he was saying, "Oh, we play Malaika all the time in Singapore." I'm going, "Really?" So it's become quite a hit, and this was from my father. So I grew up in the music industry in Kenya, and what an honor and privilege that was too. And that's why when I was introduced to Rene last year for World Jenny's Day, we'd had a bit of a battle to find performers from South Africa. They've been through and are still through some really, really difficult times in South Africa. There's no electricity. They're at a level, a critical level right now due to corruption and sabotage of not having much electricity to hand around the country. And that in turn has affected
It looks like JENETTA might be frozen for the moment. So while she unfreezes, we will just say hello to a couple of people. J.R. Weldon, good morning. Good morning to you as well. Thank you so much for being here. David Chris, a man of few words, but thank you so much for being here. And I think we will go ahead and introduce Rene. I'm super excited to have Rene come out. Rene is a singer, songwriter, and Lifeline Durban ambassador. Welcome to the program. It's so nice to have you.
Hello, Jacalyn.
Hello, hello. Well, I'm sorry that JENETTA is frozen at the moment, but she certainly was giving you a great introduction. And obviously, there's a place in her heart for you that is very sacred. She's unfrozen. Let's bring her back. Hello, JENETTA.
How ironic was that? I was busy telling about the dire happenings in South Africa, and my internet went off. Welcome, Rene, and I'm with you there. I would love to carry on introducing you. So, in actual fact, I wanted to be able to say that Rene is here today, having settled in South Africa, and really made a huge impact in a place called KwaZulu-Natal. A lot of you might know KwaZulu-Natal, and well, not the capital, but the main port there is Durban, and a lot of people do know that. And that is where Rene lives. And Rene is a sensational singer-songwriter. He joined us for World Jenny's Day on the USA Global Network last year, and it was so lovely to have his contribution. And he's such a versatile performer. He sings in French and English and Portuguese, even Afrikaans and Zulu. And he describes his music as the combination of classic and pop ballads, R&B, reggae, and folk music. And Rene is a musician whose musical style is incredibly unique. And why he was so close to my heart when I met him, apart from the fact that he has the most enormous heart, what an amazing, amazing man, is that he fights for people's causes. And one of the things was his fight for media freedom, which introduced him to a wide listening audience and put his name on many, many lips. And the song he sung for that received a wide acclaim when it was aired by the Belgian radio and the UN radio in Africa. And in 2008, a music video of that song was released. And most importantly of all for today's program, Rene is the brand ambassador for Lifeline Durban. So he helps people and helps others to help people to help when they phone through in crisis. That's what Lifeline Durban is. It's an NGO offering a professional and confidential counseling service at all times of the day and night. And he's helped people with emotional crisis, trauma, abuse, violence, rape, HIV, AIDS, and depression and suicide. And so it's with all that background and richness, I am proud to announce to everybody, René Tshiakanyi. Welcome, Rene.
Hello, JENETTA. Hello, Jacalyn, and all the listeners. I don't know what to say. I have a goosebump just listening to you introducing me, or maybe seeing myself through your eyes. I I'm really humbled. Thanks so much for having me today.
Thank you, Jeanetta. That was a beautiful
So
introduction. Absolutely beautiful. I feel the love between the two of you.
Thank you.
It's really nice. We do have a follow-up comment from J.R. Weldon. My book promotes the idea music could be the only sensible way to join ideas of the world together.
Totally.
Absolutely. Thank you, J.R.
Mm.
Thank you
So
for that.
Renee,
Yes.
I had an opportunity to listen to some of your music, and I said to Jeanetta, how cool is it you were at the Beverly Hills Hotel? I thought you were in the States here in LA. So and
I wish.
I love how you get everybody engaged and everybody,
Wow.
it's so meaningful and powerful when
Yeah.
we start singing songs together. I
Mm.
love that.
Mm.
What does it
Wow.
feel like when you're on the stage doing that, bringing people out of their comfort zone and together?
It's a mixed feeling. There are times when you go with the idea of let's sing along, and maybe people come with the idea of let's go listen to him. Like we will be quiet. We just want to watch him and listen to him. There are times when you go with the idea of let me just go sing with my whole heart, and they expect you from let go and sing and go dance. It's now like you go there with an open heart and you said it's a conversation. I will see what they have for me, and I'll bring what I have for them. And before the end of the show, we'll have a magic happening. So that's the experience, yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Do you have a favorite decade of music? Like for me, it's the 70s. I go crazy listening to the music from the 70s. How about you?
I would say 70s and 80s. But even the end of the 60s, because the Beatles, for me, I get to know the Beatles through my father. And he had a lot of European friends, as Janetta was talking about Kenya. So the Congo, Belgium, Congo was similar. Uh, these were my first 20 years of my life were formed. So he worked for a diamond mine company, which had its own town, but it was international, a company called Miba Diamond Mine, and that had a lot of Belgium living within us. So culturally, I grew up with a lot of influence of European culture, and that's where I get to know the Beatles, Elvis, Bob Marley. All the James Brown. My father was actually doing James Brown stuff in the club. I don't know if that's how he charmed my mom. I don't know, but otherwise, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Janetta,
Yeah.
what about you?
I would say also my most favorite is 60s, 70s, and 80s. Because I was going to say, when you said 70s and you said 80s, I was going to say all three. And I don't know, there's a magic over those 3 decades that
Yes.
just I don't think has been quite the same since. Maybe I'm showing my age. I can remember my grandparents saying, well, the music in the 60s, not like in our days where so maybe it's an age thing.
Mm,
I
Yeah.
do it inspires me. I love those eras, those 3 decades.
mm.
Yeah, we have that in common. I love it too. And we'd love to hear from our audience. If you'd like to share with us what your favorite decade of music is, David Chris, music is the treatment. Thank you.
Yes. Mm,
Thank you.
mm.
Oh,
So,
thank you, David.
Renee, I know
Yeah.
backstage you had shared that you had a special story that you wanted to let us all in on. Would you like to share that now?
I would love to. I had the experience, with my background as a musician, social worker. I say social worker because when I go places and I introduce myself as Lifeline Durban ambassador, people have so much respect and they assume I can come to the White House and have a tea with Mr. Biden because you're an ambassador. When I actually introduce myself as a social worker, they get ready to share the challenges or open up to somebody who might share ideas that can bring up about change. So the story I wanted to share was how, even though I work into mental health field and emotional wealth field, I am not immune to being myself affected emotionally or mentally, and how it does literally affect the people around me. So that's the story I wanted to share with you.
Thank you so much for that. I love when people have personal shares. It really means so much. And,
Mm,
we're talking today about mental health wealth.
mm,
And just
mm,
from the two people in the audience who are engaging with us, which we really appreciate, it is that common thread, that common denominator. And we can listen to the words of some songs and you can tell that the artist, the composer, was in pain or was
mm,
feeling joy. What is
mm,
it like when you have to perform, Rene, and you maybe had something happen right beforehand or something's going
mm.
on in your life? Does that impact your performance? And if so, how?
Totally, totally. I can still clearly remember when I received a call that my father passed, and my father was in France. And I remember leaving the Congo was very painful because we had to escape in a way. The regime were changing, the rebels took over the government, and there were a feeling of like pointing fingers as if my father profited from the former regime. So he had to go to France because he was sick. I had to come to South Africa because you go where the visa is given to you. And 12 of us, because we're 12 children, 6 girls and 6 boys, mom and dad, but we couldn't go in one direction. So we split literally. As I'm telling you now, my big brother now we're in South Africa, my mom and my sister in France, another sister in Belgium, another brother in the UK, brother and sister in Canada, sister in Chicago, Illinois. So that's actually the reality. So I remember when they phoned me and they said, your father's late. So I was scheduled to go perform. I couldn't cancel the gig because it was a high profile gig. My management were paid in advance. I just said, well, I would look at it as if singing to pay tribute to the men that I did call father. But it was not easy because you don't feel the strings of the guitar in the same way. You don't, the word, the meaning of the word changes literally. Let's say, like you saw my profile, I was singing Hey Jude. I think if I had to sing Hey Jude that day, I would be singing Hey Jude sobbing because the word at that time would say, don't make it bad. Take this sad song and make it better. So the words will be like telling me about the circumstances I was going through at the time. But there are times when I go to a gig, like in South Africa, we having a lot of issues. We had lootings, we had the floodings. Janetta talked about the crisis in terms of energy. So a lot of people are really sad. They feel let down. So when I go play, if I have to sing the same song, Hey Jude, I'll look at the point of telling them it won't last as bad as it is, it will get better. So I would be encouraging them to cheer up, to look at the possibility in the future. This is how your emotional state and your mental state affect the work that we do. And that has been really my case. Yes, I totally agree with you.
Wow, what a powerful story, Rene. Thank you. I,
Yeah.
I can imagine you getting up to sing that and the tears just, yeah, because I started welling up myself thinking about it. So, oh, we have some follow-up comments.
Yeah.
Let's take a look from J.R. Weldon. I love the rock and roll of the 70s and the vibe of reggae Caribbean. My book, I'm hoping to promote my idea of great music. I call it
Mhm.
Carib Rock. I love when I
Wow.
hear a rock cover band blend a great Zeppelin song with a great reggae feel. Yes.
Mm. Beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Thank you.
Sure.
We also have
That's a lovely
from
mix. Thank you for your
David Chris.
contribution.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've been through mental health and still going through it. Walking and
Mm,
listening to music helps. Wow,
mm, mm.
amazing. We're going to comment. We'll
David,
discuss the comments in just a
absolutely.
minute.
And
Yeah. Sorry,
yeah,
Jeanette, there's a time delay between us.
Renee, I think that is there. I will
Mm,
take a deep breath before I respond. Renee, I think one of the things with having you step into this platform on World Jenny's Day is the
Mm,
fact that you do feel so much, and you do have such a big heart. And I think
mm,
this is the big thing with a lot of musicians and performers, performing artists, is that they're
mm,
highly sensitive beings, and that's what
very,
enables them to
mm,
become creative. And yet
mm,
there's so very little backup and support for them. What do
yes.
you do for you to make sure you're backed up and supported? Because I know you pour your heart out to people with
Mm.
so much love.
Janetta, I would say you've actually hit on the nail because, first of all, we in Africa, where copyright is not really respected, people look at art as distraction, not as a work. And we can argue there is an element of cultural education. We could talk about that. So people should be informed. I love to come back to the USA because I remember in the history of American presidency, there were President Bill Clinton going into schools with his saxophone, encouraging music lessons in schools because there was a correlation between emotional well-being but also performance of the students when they take music lessons. But you come from wealthy first world countries, and we still like trying even to feed our own people, to supply water to our people, to give them electricity on a regular basis. So now talking about raising awareness about the importance of art and why we have to support artists and their contribution to our culture, I think we still have a very long way to go. And you wanted to know how do I find the strength to carry on in this environment where there are no support at all. um, I would say I'm part of the lucky ones because I met people. Okay, I'll tell you a personal story. Where I am sitting here recording this interview with you, I was given a place to stay during lockdown because COVID-19 lockdown literally made me lose everything. And part of the people who used to come to my performances, out of the blue, I just received a call. If I might mention the names, because they're not here, I'm sure they're out. It's Kevin McGregor and his wife, Veronica McGregor. They phoned me and they said, we know how bad things are. How are you coping? So the first thing I did, like a rock star, you don't want to drop the ball. So you pretend everything's fine. But then a week later, they phoned again and they said, our daughter is in the same industry. She's in theater. We know what is going on. Don't you need help? I start crying and I didn't know what to say because it's a difficult thing to say, yes, I need help because I've never been in that situation. I don't know how to say, yes, I want help. So all I had to do was telling them. This is like a personal story, telling them, I don't have a food on my freezer. My brother just passed away and I'm still grieving. I don't know what to do. So they said, not a problem. Come and stay with us. And you can find your place when you back on your feet. Things are bad. Let's weigh the storm first, and you can decide later when you're in a good place mentally and emotionally. I didn't know there were that many good people. Um, they came with their car, they helped me move. It's been 2 years and a half. I live with them. They became a family to me. These are the people, it's the people that I meet that makes a difference, keeps me going, give me a reason to believe we see you, we can acknowledge you, we want to give you the support so you can keep on doing what you're doing. That was a life transforming experience, and that's kind of like give me a different view of me and my career. So I totally agree with you.
Let's give them a round of applause. That is, oh my gosh. You hear stories like that, and it just makes you realize there are people all over the world who are
Yeah.
good, kind, generous people. And so,
Yes.
what they gave you, you are
Mm,
giving back to so many others. And once again, I'm starting to
definitely.
cry. So,
Definitely.
oh, Let's
You know,
I know this is quite personal, and I didn't want to go into the details, but I think people have no clue why musicians commit suicide or their own drugs. It doesn't just happen. The pressure we have, first of all, when we create, it's so stressful because you don't know how would your song be received. Would people welcome that song? Would that be a hit? Would your management keep supporting you? Because we in the industry they say you're only good as your last performance. So every time everything is on the line, and that's very stressful. Now you are the stresses of COVID-19. You don't know if this thing COVID will ever end. Am I going to have my work back? Because all my people are moving on, all the venues are closing down, and during that time you lose a loved one in the Congo and you can't travel to go say farewell. So you have to go on and you wonder, how can I make the next step? And out of the blue, somebody just give you a call and said, is everything okay? I used to come to your gig and we've been thinking about you and we want you to know we're here for you. Come live with us. They never asked me for anything for 2.5 years in my life. I never paid a rent. And this kind of like gave me a more support to reorganize financially and artistically and to be in a place where you can create again. So I can only thank them for all they did for me. Yeah.
I want to thank them as well. That
Mm.
just giving people
yeah,
faith in mankind. And I think it goes to the point where you have to keep pushing, you have to keep
Yes.
going forward. So a question I
Mm.
have for you, and then I want to get to some of the comments that we have, is
Yes.
you mentioned the stress and the pressure
Yes.
and that you're
Yes.
you're the performer, people are paying to come and see you. Is there
Yes.
some point where Renee the person is put on a back shelf and Renee the performer is the one who has to show up?
I would say yes, but there is a nuance here. I don't do that consciously. It's funny how when I'm on stage, I feel like another personality takes over. I don't know how it happens. But then when the curtain closes, the other Rene comes back into me. Here's the challenge now. When the curtains open, you feel the love, you feel the support, the energy is there, you still so high like somebody, I love wine, so like when you have a good wine. So, but then when the curtain closes, you still so high, but then you're on your own now, and you have to find a way to cope now with being also too high, because there are two levels. You can be too low when things are bad and feel bad, but you can also be too high and wonder, how can I channel this energy? What can I do with this energy? Can I write? Can I sing some more? But then you feel like, yes, you have so much energy, but the curtain just closes. It's time to go home. so, 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 yeah, it's a challenging thing. Yeah.
Can I just say, Renee, that
Yes.
even though I'm in a different situation as a broadcaster, I can
Yes.
understand that at the end of each day when I finish broadcasting and I'm all dressed up, I go and
Yeah.
sit in a room by myself at a wood table and with my computer, and it's kind of like, wait, what it's, I don't know how to, I get what you're saying. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at some of these comments that we have, and we really appreciate our audience. J.R. Weldon, I just asked to connect with Renee and JENETTA. Please let them look for me and say hi. We love that. Thank
I'd
you.
love that too.
That's great.
JR, welcome, welcome, welcome.
And we heard from
Mm.
David before about going through
Mm.
mental health. He
Yes.
also writes, talking is another part of therapy and listening
Mm.
skills. Absolutely. And
Mm.
God is always there. Amen
That's
to
it.
that.
Mm.
Also, JR, watching the
That's where
show
the
with the little,
miracles are.
it's true. With the little oops factors, I'm 65 and still find it amazing to watch three people in three different places in the world carry on a conversation at the same time. Sometimes it's just the little things that matter. Yes, I
Wow.
so agree with you on that. And
Mm.
finally, David, Chris, there's good people in this world. Absolutely.
Mm.
And we're lucky to have so many of them here on this platform. So
Mm.
thank
No,
you both for engaging.
Mm.
JENETTA, over to you.
Yeah, I wanted to continue with Rene's story because that's what I was going to include when the outage from my internet so rudely interrupted me. Because South Africa's been going through probably one of the hardest lockdowns, in my opinion, with COVID, and then with this power issue, and definitely the entertainment industry took a nosedive. So, because South Africa is so close to my heart, I really wanted to make sure that South Africa, as much as East Africa, which is really in my heart, was represented. And I went to some key people in South Africa, well-known people, and said, please perform for us. And they sat there and said, you know, they thought about it, and they came back to me after a little while and said, we can't do it. We can only work for pay now because we're hardly putting food on the table. And these are well-known actors in on TV and film. And then somebody, when it was all going out, somebody in Africa said, how come SA is not represented on World Peace Day? And they introduced me to René. And this man, with all he's been through, stepped forward and said, I'm there. I will represent South Africa. And that's the pay it forward. I can hear it. You know, as we all open our hearts and help each other, it helps us to do more of the same. And that reflects in you, René.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I remember that time when it was the World Jenny's Day, and I didn't know who was Jenny, and I didn't know why World Jenny's Day, but I knew there was a link to mental health. And I know that's the job I do. I don't do it to be paid. I do it, first of all, because the other person struggling can be me, can be my brother, can be my mother. And I also look at the good things that have come to me and how every step of the way, every time that I needed a guidance or direction, I did get it. As a foreign national, you're in a country where xenophobia has happened over 3 times and people have been killed, goods stolen, house burned, and out of all the drama, I had friends who could help me survive. It's a bit of contrast because a lot of foreign national actually argues that I have so much love and warmth towards South Africa, and they judge that I shouldn't have that kind of love because of what foreigners have been through, and my heart goes to them. But at the same time, what made South Africa for me, it's not the drama and the government, but it's the people that I've met. Um, for example, my English teacher met me. I was basking in the street and I couldn't speak English. And she said, I can help you learn English because as long as you can't speak English, that would be an handicap. So she kind of like gave me a lovely word. She took me in. And until today, I didn't know who was Jane Austen and what was Pride and Prejudice. And I got to know all of these things through working with my English teacher. So that makes me, in a way, say yes, because I had to represent KZN and South Africa in general, and I think I'll always be indebted to South Africa. It's a place that helped me to grow, to see humanity with its frailties and its weaknesses, but also with its beauty. But it's also a place I had to learn that no matter the bad time, the sun always rises. We had just to keep hope, and future will be much better than today if we work together. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It-
So, René, when has music for you made
Yes.
a difference to, you know, like losing your dad and your brother, and the way you
Mm,
lost your brother? Where have
mm,
you used music in a different way to move forward? I mean, definitely going on stage and having to do gigs, not straight after
mm,
you've heard of the death, of course, but going on with
mm,
it, that that has a great therapy in it. But where have you used music? Where has it pushed you with your music to do something different or do more? Where, by way of example, has it pushed you to write? Where has those difficult times of loss inspired your creativity in music?
It did very much, because I had a feeling that that was the only thing that I had at the moment that was meaningful to me and impactful emotionally and mentally. For example, during those tough time, just journaling, just writing lyrics, and then I sit on the piano, I have my guitar. It takes me out of that space. I have a feeling like somebody traveling through words and melody. And after 10, 15 minutes, I can feel myself in a different space mentally and emotionally. It really does help. You're totally right.
Yeah, I'm
Mm,
trying to make sure I don't overtalk
mm.
Genetta because of our difference.
Yes.
So I want to just bring things together in a little in a way, because I think this is so important that we
Mm,
are, to JR's point, we are people who are in different parts of the world, and you're sharing what's
mm,
going on that people
mm,
might not have any idea. I don't know if they're rolling
mm.
brownouts or blackouts or whatever. Can you talk a little bit more about that, the situation with the electricity?
For example, I'm surprised that today we have electricity. I was thinking, if we don't have electricity, that means you don't have a Wi-Fi, and this broadcast would have happened. The problem we have now, we call it, I mean, the government call it load shedding. It started as we have much demand in terms of power, but we have less capacity to supply, because we're still working on our capacity to supply. For the time being, we will have a system called load shedding, which means from 10 to 12 o'clock, people on the east won't have power because we have to give to the people on the west. From 12 to 2, we cut from the north to give to the people from the south. From 6 to 8 p.m., we'll cut from north and south to give from to east and west. It was supposed to be a temporary system to get back up with enough power supply. But it turns out that it's something that might last longer than we expected. So at the moment, businesses are struggling because energy is the master resources. Restaurants, hotels, shopping malls, they're really battling. Without the fact that the economy around the world is not really okay. And now again, the government can't really supply the power to the population. So a lot of people now have to lose their jobs because company can't really keep up with less energy and keep on keeping all the stuff around. So they have to cut on the employers, on the employees, in order to survive this period, which adds to the uh, poverty that we already have, and also the leftover of COVID-19. And not forgetting that we in Durban, so we had a looting. So the businesses were broken into, stolen from. It's just a mess. I don't know. I'd like to remain positive. I'd like to hope that the future will be much better. But this is the current reality of South Africa at the moment.
Mm.
Mm,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
mm,
it is pretty dire.
mm,
My son Stuart, my eldest son, who lives in South Africa, he
mm,
works with a company that provides internet radio to the
mm,
taxi industry, and he is their IT boffin. He's the one that gets it to the taxis on an IT level. And of
mm,
course, without internet and without electricity, so they've had to come up with some very clever plans to make sure
mm,
that these, because the taxis in South Africa, Dr. Jacalyn, and our viewers and listeners, they are buses, not your sedan cars. They're
Yes.
actual buses with 16 people. Here in Kenya, we call them matatus, but they're buses with 16 to 20 people in them. So they've set up this whole system so that people can sit to an actual dedicated taxi internet radio. And it's being really severely challenged at the moment.
So, with everything that you've both shared, and we're talking about mental health today, what is the general sense of feeling of the people living there? I mean, are people in a state of panic? They're leading with fear. What are they doing? Are they turning to God? Are they doing affirmations? How are people getting along?
Personally, I've got to know what keep me a bit in balance. So when the power is gone, obviously you're not happy because there were plans that I had for the day, and electricity is needed to either cook or be online, do some research, or practice on my electric piano, which needs power. So already it affects me. But another thing that I do is I have some torch lights. Some it's like a miner's torch that you can wear on your head. So when I want to read at night, for example, so I use it. On the other side, the general mood of my friends in South Africa, there have been in the last 4 to 5 years a lot of immigration of South African deciding to say, well, I'd rather immigrate to Europe or I'd rather immigrate to Canada, because as this keep on going, I don't see any way out, because they could see from when the new South African government took over and where we are now, it's almost like an effect of lack of planning or bad planning into government management. So many people have a different way of coping. We really hope that we get out of this as quick as possible, because we don't have other way out.
Yeah, it's a good question, Dr. Jacalyn. The last time I was down in South Africa, I asked a lot of people, and middle to upper class were giving me the feedback that when you've got no other choice and you can't emigrate, you've got to find new ways to reinvent, and you've got to find new
Yes.
ways to cope and new ways to support. And that filled my heart, because this is, as you know, or those of you who
Yes.
do know me, I always say it's when you're in your most dire times and that reinvention happens, that magic starts happening in the most difficult of times. And whilst I was there, I was watching a lot of people saying, okay, this isn't possible, so we're going to do this instead, and suddenly using new skill sets of problem solving skills and analysis and communication skills. So as much as it's really very, very challenging down there, at the same time, I'm watching a lot of people who've looked at it and said, okay, what can we do because of this? And so, I mean, a lot of people are going, no, it's hopeless, we can't. But a lot were also going, we're going to make something come out of this. And it left me with quite a full heart as I left South Africa.
Yeah, you know what, Janetta and Renee, I think it just goes to what we all know, which is that there is hope. Everything is temporary. Things are always changing. And if we're open to that, like that phone call, I will remember that story that you shared, Renee, forever, that, because you kept going, you didn't know how you were going to go, but you just kept going. That call came, and it was a gift that was given to you. So that's what I want our listeners to and our viewers to take away, that you're not alone, that whatever it is you're going through, it is temporary. And there are people out there who want to help you. You just have to open your heart and be receptive, and you don't know where the help's going to come from, right?
Yes, I totally agree with you. And like I said to you, that literally changed my perception. uh, not a problem is hopeless anymore, because when you've had those experiences, even in a tough time, I wonder, and I was like, seems like I've been here before, and seems like there will be a way out. I don't know how. I keep my heart open, I keep faith, and something will show up. So that experience stays with me until today.
Yeah, that's,
Mm,
and I think it also comes down to everything we're saying, but also what is the solution? How can I find a solution instead of getting
mm,
mired down in the panic and the fear?
mm,
Because when we're focused on something positive, I really feel that positive things come as a result. And we've got some more
mm,
comments. Let's just see.
mm.
We've got somebody, Lighter Horn, hello. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. Very strange to see energy becoming scarce in 2023.
Mm,
And there are alternative energies
mm,
that hopefully people are looking into as well.
mm,
And also,
mm,
JR, if I can share with JENETTA and Renee a quote, I'm promoting my book, Life is Easy, Just Do the Right Thing All the Time. I think if we
mm,
can get our youth to see and hear all the strong positive things in this world and not hear from their peers the very little negative things, I say
mm,
positive and negative with a percentage of 97% good and 3% bad.
mm.
Yeah, good points.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you, JR. Well, we've come to the end of our show for today. Renee, you have to come back and see us, please, because I know that that's a full heart there, that there's more to come, more for you to share. As we do close out, what would you like to say to our audience, Renee, for people who are having a hard time?
First of all, I would like to thank you. I thank Janetta and thank Dr. For having me today. I do feel really privileged. You know, when I started as a musician, I didn't know I would be part of a conversation with USA Global TV. To me, this is big. Somebody was born in the Congo where people would say in obscurity, and to be now sharing with the whole world through USA Global TV, but also with the support of good people like Janetta and you. What can we take today? Well, I would say we don't need to stop believing that no matter the challenges that we're going through, uh, like you said, it's a temporary. It's not going to always be this way. But also, we have to work on that solution. We don't just have to be sitting and hoping. We should be like one of our panel. I mean, in our network chat group today said, do the right thing at the right time. Keep on doing the right thing. And the right thing could be just uh, saying hello to somebody's passing, or maybe helping somebody who can't cross the road because they have a frail health. That could be making a difference and doing the right thing. It could be just encouraging somebody who's really down, or it could be just playing your song and to people. That could be the right thing. So I can't wait to be back again, and I'm loving this. And yeah, thank you guys for having me. It means a lot.
Thank you so much. And
Mm,
we love having you here. And I just want to share one more thing that you both
mm,
are doing. And I sense the people in our audience are doing too. Use your voice. Whether you
mm,
think you can't sing, it doesn't
mm,
matter. Just
mm,
use your voice, whether it's to get
mm,
your feelings out, whether through it's a song or through a
mm,
conversation, but be there for somebody else also. Somebody
mm,
mentioned listening. Listening is so important because
mm,
people want to get out what they're feeling and they might not have
mm,
anybody to speak to. So
mm.
Renee, just like in your situation, a call out of the blue came and your prayers were answered, and now things are just keep going up for you. So congratulations and God bless you. And also the two, who are they? Veronica, you said?
Veronica McGregor and Kevin McGregor. Yes.
Love them. Fantastic. And
I
Renee, how
usually
could,
tell them. I
yeah.
usually tell them, since I'm part of the family, I'm the Black Scottish now in the family.
Renee, for people who want to hear your music, purchase your music, how do they go about that?
You can actually go on my website. There are Spotify or Apple Music logos there. You just click there, they will direct you straight to my music. You can subscribe, you can download, you can stream, you can also share with friends. And that will help me a lot to get more awareness, to get more exposure of myself and my music around the world. So thank you.
Thank you. And Renee, while I have you on Spotlight, one more question I want to ask you, because I don't think people are as aware of this as they should be. I think people think that you are going to get rich from downloading the music. And yet so much, I have a song that's available, but they take so much of the money. Tell us a little bit about that.
I've heard actually in South Africa, the challenges we have, like you said, energy and internet, the majority of the people don't even have access to internet. So we rely more like USA and EU and a bit of Asian markets to have support as an artist. I haven't get anything coming in and through, but I think, like you said, to see the broader picture, to be more creative, I looked at that at the time as a CV, as a business card. How can USA market get to know who is Rene? I don't maybe get in terms of money, but I know that someday somebody might say, let's collaborate. And they can get to know of Rene's music through Spotify and Apple Music. And in the long term, I'm building up my own catalog. And in the hope that maybe in the 5 years time or 10 years time, it might be worth something. So yes.
And Renee, just to follow on to that, in terms of collaborating for people who are watching or listening now or later, you
Yes.
can collaborate with people anywhere in the world, correct?
Definitely, with today's technology, we can really work from distance and let people share. You know what? I think I haven't gained so much in terms of monetary value, but I've gained so much in terms of artistic value because I have now friends in Ukraine or in Europe, in Asia, who emails me and say, I heard your song, All I Need Is a Friend, or I heard your song, can we please talk? This is how I was feeling, and I'm sharing it with my friends. To me, I know that if I need to plan a gig now in the USA, I can see the statistics of Spotify and Apple Music, which cities or which states, as you call it, because here we call it cities, which states play my music often. And that can also help me with the statistics to plan my first gig in Chicago, for example, or in New York. We don't get paid much, but we're hoping that things might change with support of people like you.
Thank you so much, Renee. It's definitely a different type of wealth. That's what we talk about here as well. There's all kinds of ways to be rich, and it doesn't have to be the bottom line with the currency and the dollar, right? Yeah. Well, thank you again. And for people who want to reach out to you, they can go to your website, which is your name. And we encourage everyone to do that. And also for David, Chris, why don't you connect with J.R. Weldon and maybe with Lighter Horn, in addition to JENETTA and to Renee and myself. JENETTA, how can people reach you, and who would you like to contact you?
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Well, first of all, René Tshiakanyi, I really look forward to seeing you growing from strength to strength as your amazing voice reaches more and more people around the world, and your big heart makes a difference to so many who are feeling compromised. And thank you for being with us today. And in terms of who can reach me, anybody who's feeling compromised, who feels that the situation that a lot of people are dealing with around the world, it's nice to say it will pass, but it doesn't feel like one can cope with it. You'd like to get the coping skills to start new internal conversations, which is what I had to do after I lost my 16-year-old daughter to suicide. If you'd like to have a piece of that and find out how to completely regroup your life in the most accurate ways, then you can get hold of me, because I've helped many people who've been on the brink of committing suicide or of suicide. And so you can get me at JENETTA, JENETTA, at theepiphanyprocess.com, or visit me or us at theepiphanyprocess.com. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about World Jenny's Day, because we've been talking about it lots, worldjennysday.com. And I look forward to hearing from you. Please reach out. I have a little girl here in Kenya who's in school, and there's some really bad teaching practices going on in her school, and she's reached out to me. Already her conversations have changed with this abuse surrounding her, because she's in a government boarding school, and she's already responding differently to that abuse, and they're responding differently to her. So if you'd like to have more info on that, please do reach out to me. And thank you.
Thank you so much, JENETTA. Thank you, Rene. And I really do appreciate both of you being here today. And I look forward to seeing you again. So I'm just going to go through some closing announcements that we have about our shows. And if you'd like to hang around, that would be great. And otherwise, let's just take a look. So here are some of the shows. We actually have 27 shows this week. On average, we have about 25. I'm just going to go through some of them quickly. We have our Hot Topic show, The Power of Etiquette and Manners, The Earth Show, which is taking place today, Entrepreneur, and so much more, Aging Gracefully with Humor. We have the Spelling Bee, which our queen of the Spelling Bee is JENETTA Barry. So she's our reigning queen. We have Global Adventures. We also have the Mallorca Connection, which is also taking place today. And we have a new show starting February 7th, Your Story, Your Grief, Your Journey. Starting February the 6th, we have the Sales Leader Roundtable. Also starting February the 7th, I believe, is a new show for kids and for families. It's called Once Upon a Time, the Good Book Guide for Kids. We also have coming up our reunion show, which is April 23rd. It's open to any of our guests. They get to promote themselves for 15 minutes. And we have a special event in collaboration with the British School of Excellence. It's called Lessons in Love, Deepen Your Connections and Build Better Relationships. That's on February the 8th. We have the Listening Mentor, Fashion, Travel, and Fitness. We have Wild at Heart. That's our men's show for men, by men, about men. That's taking place today. We also have Pet Psychic Amina. We had our 100th episode. That's taking place on Friday. We have a new show that I think this is the 3rd episode. It's also today. I'm spiritual, but we have the Business Talk Show, Talking Peace Around the World. We have A Woman's Prerogative, The Wise Ones, the Film and Music Show. Rene, we should definitely have you on there.
Thank you.
Sure. We have the Corner Bookstore. I'm getting exhausted, by the way. Food and Our Emotions. The United Kingdom, that's coming up right after this. Secrets to Timeless Beauty. Talking Heads with our expert presenters. And Authentic Achievements. Woo! That's no wonder I'm tired at the end of the week. Okay. So if anybody would like to be a guest on any of those shows, please go over to our website, which is usaglobaltv.com. Anything else you would like to leave our audience with, Rene or JENETTA?
I just want to thank you. This has been amazing. And thank you for those who have joined us in the chat. This is a global conversation for me. You in the US and I'm in South Africa. JENETTA is in the UK. And we've been watching around the world. This is very hopeful. I've been really fortunate to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. JENETTA, from you? Okay.
No, I'm just so glad we have this platform to be able to talk matters mental health from a new vantage point, from a place of hope and understanding and knowing there are always solutions. And thank you to all involved with this.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm going to close us out with a music trailer that is for our song Listening Lazies, which is in alignment with our children's books that I have written with Mariska Duprier. And Listening Lazies is when we're not listening at an elevated level. So take a look at this, and we'll be back with the United Kingdom news and culture. Thank you.
When we speak, we don't hear. It's abundantly clear. Listening laces creeping, and nobody's gonna win. Look someone in the eye. If you don't, they surely will cry. You don't hear a word I say, 'cause you always look straight away. Listening laces drive people crazy. Listening laces making us blue. Listening laces, communication goes hazy. Listening laces, listening laces. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Listening laces drive people crazy. Listening laces making us blue. Listening laces, communication goes hazy. Listening laces, listening laces. When you interrupt your friend, you will surely have to make amends. Lady Ella knows the way to help you listen better every day. And what's that? It's listening lazy. Ba-da-ba-ba. Listening laces drive people crazy. Listening laces making us blue. Listening laces, communication goes hazy. Listening laces, listening laces. Listening laces drive people crazy. Listening laces making us blue. Listening laces, communication goes hazy. Listening laces, listening laces, listening laces.